So, I'm Liana Rossi and I'm here to talk to you about time. Time is more valuable than money. I read it on a fridge magnet, my mum told me it, and sometimes it's credited to Gandhi. Who doesn't think about time? We take ownership of it, we feel really emotionally connected to it, we feel like we're wasting it, we quantify it, we count memories as times, and here I am talking about it. The average person has an attention span of 8 seconds and has about 50 thoughts per day. I'd offer the citations for these references, but it's kind of obvious as to why I lost interest, right? Really long texts. Whilst the thought of losing you guys 75 times over in 10 minutes may scare some people, luckily for you all, I work in social media marketing and attention spans are short. Having a short attention span creates a real inner struggle when you're fiercely loyal as a person. When I put myself forward to talk today, I was getting ready to leave a job that I really loved and wasn't really sure that I should leave to take another pretty great role. My internal monologue, complete with Cyndi Lauper, was centred around time. See, I started my job this week, and in the lead up to my resignation, I was kind of worried. Is it time to go? Is there ever a right time? Will there be a right time? I've got a notoriously short attention span, as I've said, so it's really hard to stay loyal when you want to keep moving. Funnily enough, my work was able to point me in the right direction of where to go. I work mainly in creating engaging content for 13 to 30-year-olds. So, in social media marketing, we use time as a KPI. We have a few second audition to get consumers interested in what we're doing. On platforms like Facebook, where 3 seconds is considered a video view, we're at the mercy of the thumbs of literal 13-year-olds. We're on a constant race against the clock. On YouTube, we can retain them a little bit longer, but we have to resort to things like clickbait in content marketing to get people to really take note. So do we continue racing? It probably would have been better if I tried to explain this in 3 seconds and sat back down, but maybe 8 seconds is long enough, maybe 10 minutes, we'll see how we go. So I've got some examples here of just things that came up in my newsfeed during the last week. So why are things in my feed? What do they mean to me? Where is this value proposition? The thing about time is that it's so personal, so when we're using social media and engaging on the internet, it's often amongst friends, brands are scattered amongst them. So what are you doing here? What am I getting out of this? This is a really large group of ducks crossing the road in a video that lasted 1 minute and 20 seconds. I watched the whole thing. It's probably the longest I've paid attention to anything in my entire life. I was really into it. And as far as the Lad Bible is concerned, 2,500 shares, 13,000 likes, 350,000 video views. Now that is insane, right? It's a whole bunch of ducks crossing the road. And when you're trying to tell a real story, capturing anyone's attention is like, it's bullshit. No one wants to listen. So power to these ducks. Yesterday, Triple J released a full-length trailer for their Hottest 100 featuring heaps of music artists, global, Australian. It's pretty amazing. Another long piece of content. It goes for a few minutes. Huge budget for this kind of campaign as well. Again, people are going nuts in these comments. The value there, spotting people, this real emotional connection to artists, and the way that we feel about music is similar to the way that we feel about time. We have this ownership of them. We feel like they belong to us, and we're excited to see them in this. In terms of engagement, it's so exciting to see things like this happening in a longer form, not sort of relying on that 3 second, 10 second, 15 second Instagram format, and really pushing that to try and keep people to the end. We have the option to either keep making things shorter and shorter and shorter and giving people less time to look at us, or we can try to continue to push and make things engaging and give that value proposition. The hard thing about that though is what I like is not what you like. So articles on The Onion, and most recently I found Reductress. So this says, when he takes a break to go to the bathroom, he'll be absolutely stunned. And it's 8 outfits perfect for watching him play video games in. Now, complete bullshit again, but I love it. I think that's so funny. It comes up in my feed and I really, really engage with that. But when it comes to targeting and media, what I like as a 25-year-old woman is not what other 25-year-old women like. Most recently, Instagram's moved to self-service ad units, and again, the value proposition is quite funny there. A few ads that I've gotten in the last week was for The Economist, and I was really flattered, because I was like, shit, all I do is look at videos of ducks, on the internet, and they think I want to read The Economist, so I'm actually kind of happy about that. But then I'm also getting waist trainers, right? I couldn't find a screenshot for breast implants, but I got one of those last week. I woke up in the morning, I looked at Instagram, and it was like, for $6,000 you can have fake tits, and I was, pretty offended. But it may work for other people in my category. And this is where it's getting harder and increasingly harder to personalise and tailor content to each individual person and make it worth their time. Another few great ones. This one is for help with investment, ridiculously good looking but hopeless at investing. Caught my attention, would never use them. And then more initiatives with heart, kind of can reach more people. Every meal counts virgin, really terrible engagement. So it's like 10,000 people like fake tits, but 15 people want to help other people eat. It's kind of scary. So make me care. That's kind of the ethos here. It's like the value proposition needs to be priority for time. If we're going to spend time and invest in brands and give them our time and feel like we're not wasting ours, we need to find things that work for individual people. I liked this by Diet Coke, again, me personally. The official sponsor of your 5-minute myself break. So sitting on Instagram, drinking a Diet Coke, again, pretty depressing for our future, but something that speaks to me online. And as a brand, when you start to engage with consumers on this higher level and give them your time, it becomes much more mutual. I've seen in the work that I've done in the last few years, highly engaged users, just taking a few minutes to actually talk to them, engage with what they're doing, and not just throw things at them. And I think increasingly the conversation from a brand perspective needs to continue to make it worth everyone's time. So, I'm the girl who cried time poor, and I don't get anything done. I sent this presentation through at 2 o'clock this morning because I'll procrastinate until the end of the earth. But one thing that I was thinking about as I was putting this together last night, very last minute, is that time you enjoy wasting is not time wasted. Apparently John Lennon said that. I don't believe it. This is a picture of Kris Jenner that was released last week. Again, totally things that I like, but the value proposition is there for me. I'm completely comfortable wasting my own time looking at pictures of Kris Jenner, engaging with the content that I want to engage with, because it is my time, it's emotional, it belongs to me, and it's stupid, but this is the way that I switch off. Another great time-wasting technique. Did you share any memes of Minions in 2015? BuzzFeed quizzes. Content like this that is engaging, it talks to the people, you can smash it out, is so incredibly effective and is really struggling to be adopted by brand because it's too far of a departure. But as they continue to work to personalise, to make themselves worth our time, things like this really shouldn't be taken lightly. Yes, I shared Minion memes in 2015. So in summary, I think it's time to let go, because time can be quantified, but the emotional attachment can't. And if we want to continue to work in social media and create content that is worth people's time and worth the time that we invest, we need to take that word social and make it inherently so. Thank you.
Awesome. Now that Liana's told us all that we shouldn't be quantifying time, I feel like a bit of a dick coming up here and talking about time in a commercial sense. But anyway, I'm going to jump in. My name's Josh, and I'm a content nerd. And it kind of just sounds like I introduced myself at Alcoholics Anonymous. But anyway, I'm here to talk to you. I'm going to say hello with Adele. I'm here to talk to you about time, and specifically about time in relation to branded content and how important it is that we have our audiences spend time with our content. Also want to talk a little bit about the time challenges that our audience face and how that affects us, and also the crowded content marketplace and the challenges that that poses us as marketers. Then I'm going to kind of run through what my guiding principles are when I create content, and hopefully you guys will find that useful somewhat as well. So first of all, why is time so important when it comes to content? And I want to talk a little bit about a Google and IPG Media Lab study which was done recently. And what this study showed was that higher quality content produced a 10% lift in purchase intent compared to lower quality content. Again, getting very commercial here. And I feel like this pretty much justified the whole premise of content marketing. I think it was a big win for content marketing. Because if you break content marketing down, what it's really about is, that incremental effect of content served to our consumers over time, and the theory that that's going to increase the chance that they're going to buy a product or they're going to be loyal to our brand. But the big problem you have with a study like the Google and IPG Media Lab study is the use of the term quality. And quality is such a subjective term, and I work kind of as a social planner and a bit of data analysis. And for me, the first thing I thought was, how the fuck do I measure this? How do I learn from it? And then how do I optimize my content when I've learned from it? And it's not the only problem we have with measuring content. Content comes in so many different shapes and sizes. But I think something we also don't acknowledge is how different all our brands' audiences are if we're working in marketing. And how each of those audiences is going to have a really different definition of what high quality is, whether it provides utility, whether it's entertaining, whether it's high production value, whether it is a video of a bunch of ducks walking across the road. So I think it's obvious that as an industry, we have a real problem with measuring the effectiveness of our content. And I think one really good indicator of whether people are enjoying our content and whether it's high quality is the time they spend with it. And they refer to it as engaged time. And it is used by some companies, some big companies like Coca-Cola, like General Electric, but it's not used widely enough. And working in social, especially, I find that our clients and that other people in my agency, they're obsessed with things like reach and social likes and shares, page views, video views, click-through rates. And my big problem with this is that these are all vanity metrics. Without looking any deeper, what does it actually mean for us? What does reach mean? I've had 3 or 4 clients come to me in workshops in the last month saying that awareness doesn't drive behavior change. So why do we measure reach and not look any deeper? Click-through rates. Just because someone clicks on a link to your blog doesn't mean that they actually read the article. If you want to look at a video view, a Facebook video view, as Liana was saying, is really short. We're not looking past that first 3-5 seconds and actually seeing how long we engage someone, then what does that metric actually mean to us? What have we actually learnt from making that content? And I don't think we have to settle for these vanity metrics because there's much better options out there. And I'm going to talk about a couple of companies that I really like and who do this really well, just quickly. And the first one is Contently, which are a really great content marketing platform out of New York. And what they do is they track things like scrolling and mouse movement, highlighting, the number of active windows someone has open at any one time. And what this allows them to do is create this really clear picture of how long people are actually engaging with their clients' content. If you want to take it to a whole new level, then you have something like Chartbeat. And Chartbeat have an amazing data science capability. They track about 30 million pages across the internet. I'm boring you with figures. And basically that allows them to provide this second-by-second picture of user behavior and where our attention lies. So I'm going to go past all the research and the planning stuff now and hopefully get into something that's more interesting to the wider community instead of all of us data nerds. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our audiences, so the people who are engaging or are not engaging, depending on how we're doing our content and how well we're doing it. And I'm just going to apologize to Lego quickly, but I couldn't resist putting them in my presentation. But this is a picture of a cheap watch, and it demonstrates that our audiences are time poor. So they have plenty of distractions and much more important things than our content to get on with. They have work, they have family, they have hobbies, shopping, eating, sleeping, networking, upskilling. And what we need to do as marketers is we're given this task, and it's not an easy task, of finding a moment of freedom and getting them to spend that moment of freedom with our content. And I mean, that's a really big thing. And once we get to that moment of freedom, the next thing we need to do is engage them. And again, Liana stole my thunder because I'm going to talk about how we have the attention span of a goldfish right now. And obviously, it's a big thing to grab someone's attention and keep it. The other thing we've got to realize is that we're definitely not the only ones out there creating content. And I think, again, I'm going to refer to Liana's presentation because it demonstrated this really, really well. There's more content out there than there ever has been before. And we need to realize that when we're creating content, we can't just look at our on-shelf competitors, or we can't just look at our category. We're actually competing with every other content creator out there, because we're not just competing for an audience's love. First, we need to compete for their attention before we even get to compete for their love. But I guess the silver lining is that just because everyone's creating content doesn't mean everyone's creating good content. And there's actually recent research that shows while there's loads of content out there, there's actually more ineffective content than ever before. So with all that in mind, I'm going to move on and just run through my kind of guiding principles for when I create content. And the first of those is that you need to have a clear goal for your content, or a clear purpose. Content for content's sake is what drives ineffective content marketing in our industry right now, and that content marketing is this big buzzword. It's actually doing it a disservice, because you get loads of people who want to jump on a trend, they jump in without thinking very much about it, and they do something that's really ineffective. So we all know the value of a good strategy. It shouldn't be any different with our content marketing. Basically, we shouldn't be doing anything at random. My next thing is that you need to put your audience first every time. If I refer back to that Google and IPG Media Lab study, the high quality content was the content that was more entertaining or more useful. So what I feel we need to be doing is going out there and solving our audience's problems. We need to be moving them, we need to be entertaining them, we need to give them a soapbox or a megaphone, because really what we need to do is gain their trust before we can send all our marketing messages through to them. And to gain their trust, there needs to be this value exchange. Marketing messages, as much as we want to get them out there, are not going to mean anything if we don't get their attention first and their trust. My third point, in the immortal words of Fleetwood Mac, is go your own way. So you can't do what everyone else is doing and expect to be successful or stand out. Again, if you look at what Google and IPG Media Labs have done recently, it says that high quality content's more novel. So about a year ago, I went to an Instagram for Business event, and one of their big things is that they say the best branded Instagram accounts have a unique worldview. And that's definitely not something which is unique on that social media platform. It flows through companies' whole existence. You look at something like Airbnb, the reason we all know Airbnb and what they stand for is because their perspective's so different to any other travel company. The same with a company like Nike. Their unique point of view is that everyone can be an athlete, and that flows through everything they do. But I guess the thing when you ask yourself this, and you know, if your client or your company already has a point of view and it isn't that unique, it doesn't mean that you can't do good content. You just need to tell your story in a unique way. And a case study, which I've seen a lot of recently because my boss loves the shit out of it, is the Lowe's Fix in 6. So Lowe's is pretty much Bunnings in the US, and their worldview isn't that unique. It's always keep on improving. But what they did was they told that story through a really unique platform, and that was home improvement videos on Vine, so 6-second home improvement videos. This is a picture of one of the final scenes from one of my favorite books, which is John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. And the point I want to make here is that I think we need to tell our stories more like Steinbeck told his. Steinbeck had this amazing capability of creating vivid imagery and compelling narrative in as few words as possible. And I think if we turn around and we do this, we create compelling content that keeps audiences engaged and doesn't waste our time. Or their time, sorry, more importantly. I'm not going to deny something like James Joyce's Ulysses is a literary work of art, but Of Mice and Men's no less beautiful. It's about 800 pages shorter. It's printed in bigger type, so it's easier to read, and more of us have probably finished reading it. The last point I want to make before I leave you is that we need to let science and art collide. And I think there's a really big fear in our industry at the moment that with data-driven strategies and marketers relying more and more on research, that the creativity is being sucked out of the industry. And I'm not advocating leaning on research all the way in any way at all. What I just want to say is that when we do content marketing, it's a continual learning process. And each piece of content we create is going to yield new insights. And those insights need to be fed back into the process. So science is never going to replace art, and we're always going to need that novelness, like I was talking about before. We need a creative spark, ideas that push boundaries. But we need to make sure we're weaving the insights that we get through those ideas in order to maximize their potential. So I'd just quickly like to thank Creative Mornings for having me along to speak today with a lovely doggy meme. And I hope that I've told you a somewhat compelling story that's been either useful or engaging, and I haven't wasted all of your time. Thanks.
That's me. Hi, I'm Grace. So I'm going to start this presentation by being somewhat controversial, because I heard that's a really good way to start a presentation. One, none of the ideas I talk about today are my own. Just stolen content from everyone else. Two, I haven't really followed the brief. I tried to. Sorry. I tried to. And three, if you listen to this presentation, if you pay attention to what I'm saying, you will be happy. Everyone says that at the start, don't they? So, when I started thinking about this presentation and time, I then dove a little further into it and started thinking about what time is. And time is an experience that we have, but particularly, it is what we pay attention to, right? So we only perceive time according to what we've devoted our attention to. And in my mind, because I don't really like complexity, that means we are essentially our attention. One thing I find really interesting, though, is that there's something around paying attention. That's why we say it that way in English. We're paying it. So by paying attention or by attending to one thing, it necessarily means we're not attending to something else. That's right, right? We never try to pay attention to more than one thing at once? No? So this is really what I'm here to talk about today, is that if you listen to this presentation, if you pay attention, you'll be happy. Because by attending to what you are doing, research, not mine, has shown that we're happier. And at a time when we are all trying to pay attention to so many things at once, I think this is a really valuable lesson. So, because I haven't done any research on this, I thought we could do our own. So everyone stand up. Now, we're going to do an exercise. The exercise involves both your hands. With one hand, you're going to rub your stomach. With the other hand, you're going to pat your head. And with your brain, you're going to count backwards from 20. Go. Okay, stop. Sit down. Next exercise. If you put your hands on your thighs, close your eyes. Now just count backwards from 20. Okay, stop. Faster? Because of how our brains work. No. Our brains are lazy. That's what I should say. When we say we are multitasking, we are not multitasking. We are forcing our brains to play hopscotch, jumping from one thing to the, I don't even know if you guys have hopscotch. Anyway, you don't need to get that reference. But it means that we're forcing our brains to jump from one activity to the next and then back. So we are not doing anything well. It takes us longer to do all the activities that we're trying to do at once. So instead of patting our stomachs, tapping our heads, and counting backwards, I think we should all pay attention to this presentation because we'll be happy. By paying attention to one thing, your brain is allowed to get into a sense of flow, which gives you a full experience of your present moment. And that means that you're not wasting your time, or, like Alana says, if you're wasting your time, you're allowing yourself to do so. So the final point about this whole grand thing about attention is that most of us are designers or creatives. We work in a human-centered approach that tries to take the user's experience to make life better, right? We try to create meaning in people's lives, make a beautiful world, and make things so that they're simple and easy to use. Yet we spend no time designing our attention. We don't spend time designing our inner selves. So one thing I'm really interested in doing this holiday is designing my attention. When things are all around me, ducks, family parties, my dog licking my leg, I'm going to pick which of those things I want to pay attention to and allow myself to attend to one thing. Because I am my attention, and if I pay attention, I will be happy. Thank you.